what's up guys, it's Austin here. I just wanted to announce something quick before the video starts, so excuse the wet hair, I just got out the shower. But every day, starting today, daily uploads are resuming, so every single day at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, there's gonna be a new video. So I'm excited to announce that. I'm excited to get back into the grind. So yeah, check the channel tomorrow at 5:30, the day after that, and the day after that, and there's gonna be new videos. Also, if you're watching this video within the first 4 hours of it being out, I'm probably live on Twitch. I'm going live as soon as this video goes up. So if you want to come hang out, I'll put it first link in the description. Come check it out. Not really sure what we're going to be doing yet, but I don't know. Come hang out. Peace. Yo, what's good, guys? It's Austin here, or Luna. So today's story time is definitely a pretty interesting one, pretty crazy one. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. And yeah, if you couldn't tell by the beginning of the video, daily uploads are resuming starting today. This one's going up at like 8 or 9 p.m., but every day after this, videos are going up at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. And I know someone's going to comment and be like, yeah, okay, buddy, I'll believe it when I see it. And that's fair. That's fair. But I guess just check back tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. and you will see it. And the day after that, and the next day, and the next day. All right, this isn't a fucking SpongeBob episode. I'm going to go on with the story time now. So today's story time is about an old teacher of mine. He used to be like my favorite teacher ever, but he got fired. And today's story time is about how that happened. So this story time all takes place freshman year of high school. Let's call the teacher we're talking about Mr. Richie, okay? That's the name for him in today's story time. Now, Mr. Richie was a cool dude. He was my health teacher. Every time I had his class, I was always really excited because he was just such a chill guy. Like, you could kind of just sit there and, you know, kind of just zone out. And as long as you were trying to do your work, he would pass you pretty much. Now, I don't know if that makes him a good teacher, but it was nice for me because, you know, I'd show up to school on 1 hour of sleep and be absolutely fucking exhausted. And when I got to Mr. Richie's class, he was always really cool and he would kind of cut me a break because he could see it in my eyes how tired I was, as well as all the other students. So yeah, Mr. Richie was known as like the chill teacher. Like, he wasn't too hard on anybody. As long as you were trying your best, he would usually kind of move you along with the rest of the class. And that's why I love Mr. Richie. Now I got to give a little bit of backstory on Mr. Richie. The minute I met him, I knew something seemed odd, I would say. Not in like a bad way, but I remember the first time I ever had Mr. Richie's class, the first day I had health class in 9th grade, it smelled a little bit skunky in his room. Smelled a little bit like there was a skunk living under his desk, if you know what I'm saying, you know? A little bit loud in the room, it smelled. I think you're picking up what I'm putting down, but yeah, Mr. Richie definitely seemed like a stoner when I first met him, but that was just speculation. Like, me and my friends would just kind of speculate it because of the smell that would come from his classroom sometimes, but we didn't have any like solid proof. And we weren't really on the hunt for it either. Like, we're not trying to expose Mr. Richie, so, you know, I didn't really care to really look into it. I just assumed he maybe smoked once in a while, like in his car or something, and then would come back inside, and he'd smell like it. That was my assumption. But anyway, this story time all starts off as a normal day. I woke up, had 2 hours of sleep, got up, got ready for the day, went to school, got through most of the day with, you know, minimal issues. I was very tired the whole day, but for the most part, I was getting through okay. And I was really excited for Mr. Richie's class because that was the class that I could kind of wind down and just relax and not work myself too hard, you know? So it comes time for Mr. Richie's class, and I got there a little bit early. Like, usually during passing time in the hallway when the bell would ring, I would just sit in the hallway for like the entire 5 minutes that we had to get to the next class. But I just went straight to Mr. Richie's and sat down and put my head down because I was just exhausted. And Mr. Richie actually came up to me and tapped me on the shoulder while I had my head down. He's like, Austin, you're here early. I was like, yeah, I just came straight here. And he goes, long day? I was like, yeah, a very long one. He's like, you sleep at all last night? I was like, honestly, 2 hours. He's like, 2 hours, man? Like, that's not healthy. You can't be doing that. That's not good for you. Like, you're growing. You got to sleep a full, like, 6 to 8 hours. And I was like, I know, but I just didn't get to last night. Not sure why. He's like, you're probably playing video games or something all night, I'm guessing. I was like, yeah, maybe, because that was definitely the truth. And he's like, all right, listen, just try and keep your head up. Try and get your work done today. Do as best as you can. If you fall asleep, though, I'm not going to give you detention or anything. Like, it's fine. I'm like, thank you so much, man. He's like, no problem. So by that time, the rest of the class was kind of walking in and sitting down, and Mr. Richie started his lesson. And the whole class, actually, I was pretty on point. Because he was being so nice to me, I put a lot of effort in that class. I had my head up the whole time. I didn't fall asleep. I paid attention. I did pretty good, right? So after the class is over, I walk out, and as I'm walking out, I say bye to Mr. Richie, and I tell him thank you for being so understanding, and then I leave. Now, right after I leave, about 5 minutes later, right as the bell's about to ring for my next class, I realize something. I forgot the homework assignment that Mr. Ritchie passed out for our class. So immediately I have like 30 seconds to run back to his room, grab the homework assignment, and run back to my class that I had to go to next. So I run as fast as I can back to Mr. Ritchie's room. Now, our class with Mr. Ritchie, that health class we just had, was Mr. Ritchie's last class of the day. So he had nobody else after us. So usually after we would leave, he would just kind of wind down in his room and pack up his stuff and leave for the day. Because there was only one more class till school let out, so he'd usually just leave early because he had no one else to teach. So I run back to Mr. Ritchie's room, hoping that he's going to be there and that he didn't already pack his stuff up and leave really quick. And I go up to the door and I knock on it. And I notice that the blinds of the window on the door are down. And I'm like, shit, he's not in there. Like, he already left. Fuck. Like, I don't have that homework assignment. I'm going to get failed tomorrow on it. But then just as I'm about to turn around and walk away, Mr. Ritchie opens the door. And I shit you not, smoke comes out of his classroom. Smoke. And there's smoke in the classroom. And he's like, come in, Austin, hurry up. And he lets me in. He shuts the door behind me. He peeks through the blinds to make sure no one else is there. And yeah, the classroom just reeks of weed, and there's smoke in the air. And I look at him, and he looks at me, and he goes, what do you need, Austin? I was like, I forgot the homework assignment on my desk, and I pointed at it. He goes, oh, yeah, grab that. So I ran over, I grabbed it, and I look at him as I'm walking out, and I'm like, Mr. Ritchie, are you participating in the Devil's Lettuce? He's like, shut up, Austin. And he starts laughing. And I was like, is that what you're doing in here? He's like, no, it's just incense. It just smells like it. I was like, oh, incense. Okay, buddy. And I started laughing, and so does he. He's like, seriously, please don't tell anyone about that. I was like, I won't, don't worry. And I go to open the door to leave, and as I'm opening the door, another teacher across the hall sees that the door is open, and she sees Mr. Ritchie in there, and she runs over really quick to talk to him because apparently she needed to ask him something, some school business. And she runs in the room right as I'm leaving, and the minute she runs in that room, I can see her face completely change, like into absolute snitch mode. I could see it on her face, like she was disgusted with Mr. Ritchie and knew exactly what he was doing. And before she could even say a word, she just made like a real disgusted face, like a look at Mr. Ritchie, and she let out the biggest sigh ever, and then turned around and speed walked out of the room straight towards the principal's office. And Mr. Ritchie, of course, runs after her to try and stop her. And I'm just standing there in the doorway watching this all unfold. And Mr. Ritchie goes, Austin, get to class. I'll catch up with you later. So I go to class, and the whole rest of that class and day, I was just so anxious for what's going to happen to Mr. Ritchie. And since it was my last class of the day, when the bell rang, it was time to get on the bus and go home. So I couldn't really see, what happened. So I had to go home, kind of, go through the rest of my day. I never really got to catch up with Mr. Ritchie and see what happened. So yeah, anyway, I went home, went through the rest of my day, and then the next morning came along, and I was just really eager to see if Mr. Ritchie was going to be there or if he got in trouble and got caught, for smoking in his classroom. Now, unfortunately, on this day, we didn't have health class. We didn't have Mr. Ritchie's class, but I still wanted to see if he was there because even though my class didn't have health that day, other classes did. So the first thing I did the minute I walked into school that morning is I just fast walked as quick as I could just straight to Mr. Ritchie's room. And I got there and I peeked through the window and all the lights were off. He wasn't there. And then all of a sudden, as I'm peeking through the window, someone behind me goes, "Can I help you?" And I turn around and it's just some random guy, some random 50-year-old, 60-year-old guy. And he's like, "You need something?" I was like, "Yeah, where's Mr. Ritchie?" He's like, "Oh, I'm substituting for him today." I was like, "You're substituting for him?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to be filling in for a little bit." And I didn't need to hear anything more. I already knew what happened. Mr. Ritchie got let go, or he got suspended for an indefinite amount of time. It just was not a good feeling. And I couldn't help but blame myself for it. I was like, damn, if I never ran back there to pick up that homework assignment, Mr. Ritchie would have never gotten caught, would have never gotten in trouble. This is my fault. Now, even though looking back at it, it really wasn't my fault. It's more Mr. Ritchie's for, fucking smoking a joint in his classroom. Still, I felt bad about it because he probably wouldn't have gotten caught that day if it wasn't for me. So I go through that whole day just kind of depressed about what happened to him. And then that night, I jumped on Facebook and I found Mr. Ritchie's account and I actually messaged him. And I was like, "Hey, man, I'm so sorry about what happened. Are you good? How long are you going to be out for? This is my fault." And he replied almost instantly. And he was like, "Austin, this is not your fault. I'm an idiot. Everything that happened to me was completely the consequences of my own actions, not yours. Do not blame yourself. But unfortunately, I will not be teaching at your school anymore." And that was just such a shitty thing to hear, man. I was never going to see him again, and our new health teacher was a total dickhead. So anyway, I ended off the conversation with Mr. Ritchie by just saying, like, good luck. I hope you find a better job. He thanked me. He told me to keep trying my best, and that was about it. But it doesn't even end there, okay? So the next day, I go into school, and my first period class, I'm sitting down, and all of a sudden, an announcement comes on, and it says, Austin to the principal's office. So I go over to the principal's office, wondering what I could have done wrong because I hadn't done anything. And I sit down in the principal's office, and my principal walks in, as well as that teacher, the one that told the principal on Mr. Ritchie. And they both sit down, and that teacher's looking at me with a real judgmental look. And my principal goes, Austin, I think you know why you're here. I was like, no, not really. And the principal goes, well, as you know, Mr. Ritchie was in his classroom the other day, indulging in some pretty inappropriate behavior, and you were there for it. And I just want to make sure that you weren't engaging in it with him. And I was like, wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me that you're accusing me of smoking weed with Mr. Ritchie? And the teacher and the principal are just silent after I say that. And I was like, okay, well, to answer your question, no, I did not smoke weed with Mr. Ritchie. I just walked in to grab my homework, and that's what happened to be happening. Okay? Like, I didn't do anything. And the principal goes, okay, that's all we wanted to know. We just wanted to make sure that you weren't put in any danger by him. I was like, he didn't put anybody in danger, okay? Like, I knocked on his door to grab a homework assignment, and yeah, he's stupid for smoking weed in his classroom. I agree, but like, he didn't put anyone in danger, okay? And my principal just kind of told me that he's never coming back and to go back to my classroom. That was the extent of the conversation. And yeah, the rest of that year kind of sucked without Mr. Ritchie. I missed him being my health teacher. However, this story time doesn't have a completely sad ending. Mr. Ritchie actually found another job at another school that paid way better, and he was a health teacher again. And I actually ran into him at the store a year later, and it was when my YouTube started to kind of pop off. And we were both just really happy for each other. I was doing good, he was doing good, and he has a good job now that's even better than the one he had before. Like, the school's way better, the pay's way better, and he's happy about it. So yeah, leave a like on the vid for Mr. Ritchie because he got his shit together. I actually cracked a joke on him at the store when I saw him, and I was like, you still smoking in class? He's like, nope, never again after that day. And it sounded like he meant it, so good for him. But yeah, guys, moral of this story is, don't do what Mr. Ritchie did. It was very stupid, even though I love Mr. Ritchie and he was a good dude. He was an idiot for doing that. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed this story time. I thought it was a pretty crazy one. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below, and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys all later. Peace.